Like you could, G.
I've always thought that a lot of the world building in Skyrim made no Talos damn sense. Just ask my friend in 5th grade. I wouldn't stop hating on Skyrim and loving on Morrowind because I thought it made me cool. Well, truthfully, Skyrim is exciting and action-packed. Morrowind really isn't either of those two things. So today I'm going to look over the geography of the cities in Skyrim, run through their geopolitical situations, and roast the Stormcloaks. At the end, I'll show you what I think Skyrim would look like if the province suddenly shattered into pieces. Look down there and subscribe or you'll miss out on my epic Reddit humor and 8th grade editing skills. Then join the Discord, Patreon, Onlyfans, and the Worldbuilding Minecraft server. In-game, Solitude is the real capital of the Skyrim province. It's the seat of the High King, and the Empire uses it as a base for their Imperial Legion. It hosts a warehouse to the East Empire Company, and it has the Bard's College, whatever that is. Does it deserve to be the biggest city in Skyrim? Well, it is built on this big rocky cliff, but for a rock arch, this thing is thinner than my schmeat. But you gotta admit, like, damn, if it doesn't look dope up there. However, it has a deep water port that's situated at the mouth of the Karth River, so if the rivers in Skyrim were navigable, which they aren't in-game, but let's kind of ignore that, Solitude could trade and project power over Morthal, Markarth, and the villages of Dragonbridge and Karthwasten. Solitude is also a big port city for the seasonal summer trade that happens in the northern ocean above Tamriel, so it's linked to coastal cities in High Rock like Jehanna, Faerun, Northpoint, and maybe even as far down as Daggerfall. This trade and cultural contact could serve to make Solitude incredibly rich and cultured, though this depends insanely heavily on the seasons and the weather, as the winter brings impossible conditions to traveling on the sea, with sea ice and mist that obscures the coastal rocks. Do I hear a Solitude evil storm god associated with night, fog, mist, rain, who hates lighthouses? Disruptions to trade could bring the whole system to a grinding halt, and here's why. I'd bet my right ass cheek and left testicle that Solitude itself doesn't grow much food. I know that there's some forests and ponds around, but look at this land, it's rocky as shit. That means Solitude would either need to buy all their food or invade the lowland towns around them. Sorry Morthal, I think you're just gonna have to give yourself to Ivan Moneybags here, and a few fishing boats, yeah.
I'm busy doing the fish stick. It's a very delicate state of mind.
Solitude also has an excellent position to defend from land attacks, as it has a mountain ridge on its northwest side and a river on the other. It could easily fortify the choke points and bridges, and it would be all set. Try getting us way up here, nerd. But I bet if I took a trebuchet to that rock arch, General Tullos would be calling me Captain Mommy. By the way, I'm doing this geographical analysis using rules that I lay out here, so check it out if you want it boiled down to Tamriel as a whole. With Solitude, we were talking about not being able to produce your own food. At least Solitude has a nearby marsh and plains which can exploit for food resources, but holy shit, Markarth, you're doing so much worse. Markarth's diet is limited to rocks and more rocks. It's surrounded entirely by mountains and rocky hills capable of nothing more than a cute garden. This place does have a bunch of silver mines surrounding it though, so it can trade its shiny little pebbles for food with the surrounding villages. On the map, it's at the very end of the Karth River. Oh, Markarth. I just got that. It's like, whatever Markarth. Okay, that's cool etymology. Here, there's a giant river island in the middle. Being surrounded by mountains and having this extra island that it has easy access to is a defensive gold mine. Its whole western, southern, and northern side are surrounded by rocky mountains, which would be impossible for infantry to invade through. It would definitely be able to hold out for a long time if it had food stored up. The island of Karthspire should definitely have a fort on it, which the military of Markarth would not give to the Forsworn like it is in-game. Fucking idiots. With Markarth's geography like it is on the map, any Hoi 4 player could hold off the invaders except the Forsworn, who are indigenously familiar with rough mountain terrain. And if you don't see why that's a problem for Markarth, you might be a Falmer, or worse, an Argonian. If Markarth needs trade with surrounding settlements for food, it could only be transported in through a few mountain passes, and the whole place is crawling with Forsworn Reachmen. It would take like 30 dudes to cut the whole city off from shipments and starve them out. I honestly see Markarth as a scenario in which it has to get bailed out by its big neighbors, which would ultimately end in its subjugation. Oh, but you could use dwarven robots to kill other guys. That'd be cool, I guess. God, Bethesda should have leaned into that more. Imagine if Markarth had dwarven robot guards. That'd be fucking awesome. Riften is kind of a shithole, not gonna lie. The Thieves Guild inhabit a surprisingly nice place in the sewers, the guards are corrupt as fuck, and honestly, a lot of it looks like it'll fall apart as soon as your massive Dragonborn cock weighs down on those rickety boards. But it has a nice personality, and we've been dating for 4 months now. Geographically, this place is pretty set. Riften is great for agriculture, it's surrounded by temperate forests and fresh water, so plenty of food resources. The Rift Hold is small but has 2 villages and a city, so it has a large pool of manpower. Riften may even be important to supporting the population of Windhelm, which gives it significant power over the whole eastern basin. It also has overland trade with Morrowind through the mountain pass which Fort Dawnguard sits in, which means Riften probably gets some money from trade and is able to recruit from the Dark Elves. Defensively, Riften's doing alright. It would have to keep a garrison in that Morrowind mountain pass, but it could still be attacked from over the western mountains and from up north through the basin. Riften could try to secure Helgen, but that's pretty far away, uphill and demolished. So then it could be attacked from the north, but there's this large rocky hill in the middle of the basin that acts as a lookout point for any incoming attackers. So while Riften isn't impenetrable, it has its strategic options. If it had its heartland firmly secured, Riften could project its influence over Windhelm using a powerful river navy to control the eastern trade of Skyrim. That being said, Windhelm would be pretty angry at this. Windhelm is funny because it has the economic capabilities to support the entire Stormcloak Rebellion, yet the slums are the most aesthetic part of it. Being on the estuary where the Treva River meets the sea, Windhelm could probably control the trade between the capital of Morrowind, Winterhold, and up the river to Whiterun and Riften. Honestly, I think that the Morrowind trade would be a hugely important aspect of the city's economy, and therefore the fact that Ulfric Stormcloak and the Nords of Windhelm are persecuting the Dark Elves is dumb. Dark Elves' familiarity with destruction magic would be an amazing boon to the cause, but hey, xenophobia and bigotry aren't rational reactions anyways, so how could I project my superior Ben Shapiro facts and logic onto it? Windhelm's kind of in the same food situation as Solitude, but a bit worse. It could probably get a good amount of its own food from fishing and absorbing the more fertile lands to the south, but it would need to import food if it's such a large city. I also think Windhelm would hire mages from Winterhold, so it could be somewhat dependent on both cities to its north and south. Maybe you'd get an East March Confederation here. Eh? Maybe? Plus, Windhelm has a natural enemy in Whiterun, as Whiterun could super easily control the river corridor between the east and the west basins of Skyrim, so the eastern cities may all gang up to deck Whiterun in the schnoz. Windhelm gives me a defensive boner, though. It has the river to its south and east and mountains to its northwest and east, so where does the invading army come from? Not the east! Windhelm would need to work some to secure the passes in the north, and would probably work a lot securing its south, especially since it'd rely on that area for food, for trade, and as a political buffer between itself, Whiterun, and Riften. And that being said, I think Winterhold would become Windhelm's little bitch boy. God, Winterhold. Once again, Skyrim food problems. It's an icy shore surrounded by icy islands and icy rocks and ice. This city is super small, so fishing might actually be able to support the population, but having a college of high-level magic and intellectual training that doesn't contribute anything to the food economy just kind of eats up resources. Although, it's so cold up there that maybe having a few people with fire hands is worth it. Without the college, Winterhold is just a small village on the rocky coast of Skyrim. It's Dawnstar. With the college, it can export valuable magic users and scientists. Both of these add up to Winterhold as a valuable asset and not large enough for it to super defend itself. The mages usually don't come from Winterhold, I don't think they'd fight for the city, they'd just try to make sure that the college isn't destroyed. I'd put my money on Windhelm saying it'll play nice with the College of Mages, but then not stopping when Winterhold says the safe word. The safe word, by the way, is Odahving. Whiterun. Whiterun brings together many of the economic positives held by the other cities. Whiterun exists on a massive plain that runs from the center of Skyrim all the way to the northwest, and it has access to the river that connects the center and the east. Being in the very middle of these connecting factors, it serves as the central overland trade hub for the rest of Skyrim's cities, which is nerd language for money, 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 money. Whiterun could absolutely have a large agricultural output too, as its relatively temperate climate and possible river irrigation would allow for large-scale agriculture. With these economic prospects, Whiterun could project immense power over a lot of Skyrim, especially since they invested all of their skill points into horse riding. This whole plain and the surrounding area can solidly be Whiterun's, using some speedy horses. This makes me think that Whiterun would do well to raid the flatter lands of Skyrim, up by Morthal, Falkreath, and the Eastern Basin. Whiterun would probably also control the main pass between the east and the west of Skyrim, which could isolate Windhelm and Riften. But the city would have to be super aggressive to do any of these things. At one point, in a fortuitous situation of geopolitics, I think it would get super aggressive though. A great Whiterun empire would have to have a massive military presence supported by its agricultural output and trade money, since Whiterun's defensive position is pretty dog shit. Without having a massive military system patrolling everywhere, the city could be attacked from all directions except from the immediate southeast and southwest. There's not many passes near Whiterun for them to lock down, so they'd have to engage with a lot of enemies in open battle just to give themselves some distance between the city and its attackers. Being right in the middle, it's surrounded on all sides by potential enemies, so hopefully the other cities would be too busy fighting each other to pay little ol' Whiterun any attention. All of this means that Whiterun's imperial success is dependent on good agricultural output, good trade, and crafty diplomacy with other cities. They can't go around being a dick to everyone on site, so maybe it'd be best for Whiterun to maintain a modest state with a few enemies here and there. The best part is, this reflects how Whiterun was actually written in the game. I applaud Jarl Bolgra for wanting to stay neutral and maintain his good relations.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Morthal. I wanna like you. I wanna give you an A on your report card for being a good student, cause you produce a good amount of food, and I'm a sucker for some pretty diddly docks. But you're on the marshes, which means disease, and you're directly in the shadow of Solitude, so I'm sorry that Solitude is gonna come in and give you a greasy swabbing of the poop deck. I put Dawnstar in jail here because it's just the worst. Tiny village, all it has going for it is this little inlet, which would definitely freeze over really quickly. Its main thing is fishing and mining, so honestly, I think it should be downgraded to village status. That's your punishment, you're free to go. But Dawnstar smuggled a secret weapon. Gajuk! He could probably come out and mud wrestle somebody. Do you see how useless this place is? Seriously though, with Dawnstar's position, I think it would be at the center of smuggling between the Stormcloak and Imperial sides of the Skyrim Civil War. Oh dude, then there could be this quest to smuggle out the Mysterium Xarxes as a weapon to your side? That would be dope. Bethesda, this video is my writing resume to you. TBH honest, I love Falkreath. It doesn't get enough attention. At the southern rim of Skyrim, I think it could be a pretty legit source of power. It has a lot of fertile forest land, a temperate climate, and several freshwater springs around it. It's also comfortably sat in a small mountain pocket, meaning it only has to defend a few passes into its own territory. It's self-sufficient and highly defendable. However, Falkreath's geography limits its expansion opportunities. Falkreath is like the nice elderly man of Skyrim, but if it decided to break out the old World War II guns and go for Lebensraum, it could probably push up to Riverwood, Whiterun, and Markarth. I imagine Whiterun would be its main rival, as it could cut it off from any river trade, and it would vie for Riverwood and the pass between the mountains. However, there's one more important aspect. The only mountain pass between the province of Cyrodiil and Skyrim comes out in Falkreath Hold. If the cities in Skyrim were in a battle royale, Falkreath would definitely utilize the Pale Pass for support and trade from the insanely powerful people in Cyrodiil. Falkreath would probably commit a lot of labor to keeping the mountain pass clear. Perhaps they can trade some of Velod's Helgen famous Juniperberry mead for some high-quality Imperial equipment. I don't think Falkreath would be the city to go out and conquer the whole province, but it would definitely be a regional power that's difficult to dislodge. That being said, I really want to burn it down. Like watch those thatch roofs just go up in flames and falling logs topple the stone foundations. I am Stoneworks Al-Qaeda Edition. So, which city would be the capital of Skyrim? If Bethesda came out and said, "No one won the Skyrim Civil War, the whole province fell apart," well, that would be a win for the Thalmor, so thanks, Stormcloaks. Personally, I would draw the map out like this. I had a whole Total War fanfiction written out depicting the battles and leaders but it's about 7 o'clock at night Swahili time, so this is all I've got. The geography of Skyrim makes for a super interesting arena, and if we got a Total War Tamriel, my balls would tingle and eventually vibrate. If you made— Stop it, balls! If the endpoint of this scenario were a unified Skyrim, which city do you think would come out on top? Let me know in the comments. This has been Jack from Stoneworks. If you leave your Minecraft username in the comments, I can whitelist you. Subscribe to my channel, Patreon, Onlyfans, and get out of my house, you Envoy.